Hello my dears, and welcome back to my corner of the internet. I'm Shannon, and today I've got another book talk video to share with you guys. Another audio only book talk, unfortunately, because we're still in the middle of our heat wave, but I just couldn't wait to get on and talk to you guys about this book because I enjoyed it. So I figured better this than nothing, and today we are talking about A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. Now, this book is very interesting. First of all, it's written like a series of letters that's kind of confessional style of a woman named Constanta is writing to a nameless a nameless recipient. And we quickly learn that he's dead. So these letters are kind of just for herself to be able to confess what she's done, and we learn very early on that she's killed him. And this quickly becomes the story of Dracula. That's who the unnamed recipient is. We know this as the story gets going, and from the blurb on the back, honestly. Like, it's known it's Dracula. And Constanta is his first wife, his war bride, she calls herself. And he finds her nearly dying in the streets in the 13 or 1400s, and he saves her by offering her everlasting immortal life. And together they travel and spend time together and have a lot of sex. And as the years and decades pass, they add to their family by bringing new lovers into the fold, if you will. And from there, there's not a ton of plot to this story. It's basically four people interacting with each other as they get to know each other, and as the decades pass, there's not like a through line story that kind of runs through it. That being said, I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I thought it was, first of all, beautifully written. There were so many passages where I would stop and just marvel at how well it was written. I've read another book from her, this author, recently, relatively recently at least, probably 6 months ago now, and it was called An Education in Malice, which was another vampire story, and I also really, really enjoyed that one. I think I enjoyed this one more, just because it's got the period piece element to it of the different centuries. So like I said, with Constanta and Dracula, it begins in the 13 or 1400s, and then by the time we sign off at the end of the book, I think we're well into the 1900s. So that's all I'm going to say for anyone who doesn't want any spoilers. Now would definitely be the time to click away. But if you love vampire stories, especially if you don't like them too gory, like there's mentions of blood and drinking blood, of course, because it is a vampire story, but in general, it's not exceptionally gory. So if you're looking for a more intense sort of horror vampire story, this definitely isn't it. This is more of a tale of love and hatred and the ways we can destroy the people that we love. And I thought it was excellent. I keep going back. Is it a 4? Is it a 5? I think in the end, I'm going to land on a 4.5 or round it up to 5. So yeah, now it's time to click away, you guys. And thank you for listening. And I'll see you in the next one. Now that they're gone, we can get on into it. Like I said, there's not a ton of plot. So normally in these book talks, I go like plot by plot through the story. There isn't a ton. So we've got Dracula and Constanta. I always want to call her Contessa, but it's not. It's Constanta. Dracula finds a second wife he wants to bring into the circle. By this point, I think it's like the 15 or 1600s. And her name is Magdalena, and she is beautiful. She lives in Spain. And at first, Constanta is very taken aback. He's like, I want to introduce you to my friend. So they go to Spain, she meets her, and all of a sudden, as soon as she sees this woman, she's like, oh my god, like, this is the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. She turns to Dracula and she's like, oh my god, you want her. And he's like, well, obviously. And so it takes a bit of coaxing, but eventually Contessa accepts it, and they become a threesome. And they kind of refer to themselves as sisters. That's what he keeps saying. Like, oh, don't you want a sister, when he's trying to convince her. But, of course, they're not actually sisters. And aside from that, more than that, they also become lovers. All three of them. And they have a beautiful relationship for a while. Until eventually more and more time passes and passes. And Magdalena, she starts to get incredibly depressed. And, like, because back when she was some sort of dignitary in Spain. I can't remember what exactly, but she spent a lot of time corresponding with kings and queens and heads of state. But now that she's traveling with Constanta and Dracula, so at this point, I should say, of course, they've changed her into a vampire as well. And the thing about Dracula is he likes to keep his little pets on a short leash. So, like, he doesn't want her communicating with anybody anymore. He's like, it's pointless. And, like, the two girls, they long to go out and, like, by themselves and have fun in the city and go to the operas and enjoy all these beautiful cities that they're in. Because they go to Italy, they go to France, they go everywhere. And he keeps them on a really short leash. Now, luckily for them is he's also very interested in science. And he likes to do experiments. So, eventually, that starts to take up a lot of his time, to the point that he starts to give them a bit of freedom. So, like, they're able to go to the opera together. And they just love that. But even when Magdalena's kind of like, let's go crazy and do whatever we want, Constanta, where she's the older one and she's been a vampire now for hundreds of years, she's really under his thumb. Like, she doesn't want to upset him because he can get incredibly nasty when he's angry. And she doesn't like triggering that, because then they'll suffer, So, Magdalena, she's getting depressed. Like, the light is going out of her eyes. And Constanta is constantly trying to figure out what she can do to help this woman get her spark back. So eventually we find out that Dracula has been keeping his eye out for just that very thing. And next thing they know, they're headed to Russia. And when they're there, they go to watch a famous painter painting a portrait of this man. And the man that's there is the reason Dracula's brought them to Russia, because he's had his eye on this young man named Alexei. He's very young. He's like 19, incredibly beautiful. The girls refer to him over the years as their little prince. Like, he's just perfect. And Dracula has decided he wants him to join in the group, this polyamorous love situation they have going on. So at first, Alexei is kind of just with Magdalena and Dracula, because to Constanta, where he's so young, she kind of looks at him sort of in a motherly type of way. Like, where he's so young, she wants to care for him and take care of him and things like that. Eventually, their relationship also does veer sexual, but that's not for a very long time. So now there's the four of them. And again, things are just constantly, like, they're just very trapped by him. Like, they long for their freedom, but he won't allow them to have it. And so they get to the point where they found out a bit of info. Like, they know that way back in the day, and they get this info from Constanta snooping around in his room one day when he's out and finding letters and journals. So she finds out that, like, in this situation, she's his first bride. But of course, he's been alive for hundreds and hundreds of years. before she even met him. And so she learns that he had wives before, and he had killed them when they like became too restless or wanted their freedom, and he'd start over whenever he got tired of them. So she starts to worry about this. She's like, oh shit, we're incredibly replaceable. This man's going to live forever. They find out, too, through these writings that he had killed his original sire back in the day and used, I guess when a vampire in this, in this universe, when a vampire kills their sire, they get all of his powers. Like, their powers are greatly strengthened. So he had done that to get his sire's powers. So now, through snooping through his things and finding his research, they learn that, the things we know about vampire lore. They learn how to kill a vampire. And they decide they're going to do it because they don't want to be trapped anymore. And it's difficult. As much as they want to do this, they want to kill him, get their freedom, live life how they want to. You have to remember they also do love him incredibly. Like, he's so beautiful. He's so powerful. He's this creature that just is in their lives and is such a big presence. And as much as they hate him for the ways that he's like draining the life out of them and keeping them caged, so to speak, they love him so much. But they decide that in order to get their freedom, before he gets bored of them and kills them, they got to take him out. So one day, this is right before townspeople discover that they're there, because they move around a lot so as to not be discovered, right? So somebody got sloppy, gets seen biting a neighborhood man, and the villagers are like, they're coming. So they decide now's the time. So the three of them lure Dracula to bed. He's so excited. Even though these people are coming, which he knows, they're not going to get in. And even if they do, we'll take them. It's fine. So they're like, okay, well, before they get here, let's have some fun. And so that's what they do. And then while they've got him, like, very vulnerable in the throes of passion, Constanta pulls out a piece of wood and stakes it through his heart. And before he dies, like, he knows what's happening and he can't believe it. He cannot believe that this is happening to him. That his beautiful wives have betrayed him. And, so that's kind of where it ends. But we do get this, well, first of all, before it ends, they bring his body down, they open the door, they're like, here's your demon, and they toss his body out to the townspeople after they've feasted. The three of them drink as much of his blood as they can, toss him out, and then they run, and then the villagers burn down the house. So that's the end of that. Then we get a few pages at the end from Alexi's point of view, because the three of them have gone their separate ways. Alexi has come to America because he's always wanted to be an actor. So he's in America doing his thing on the stage, getting huge accolades. Constanta, she's sort of traveling around, siring new vampires to have a family. But she, of course, is treating them very differently than the ways in which Dracula treated her. That Magdalena's gone back to Italy, where she loves, and she's got some human lovers. She has no desire to turn them into vampires. She likes them human, and they're all having a good time. Then at the very end, the two women go to New York to see their friend, and he confesses that he misses them so much, and they decide they're going to spend some time together. And that's the end. And I loved it. It was so beautifully written, and it's a fairly quick read too. Like, it's 300 pages, but the font's very large on the page, so you can get through it pretty quickly. And yeah, I mean, if you're looking for twists and turns and, surprises, that's not this. We know right from the beginning where this is going. We're told right off the bat. But it works in this, and I thought it was great. So that's going to do it for me for today. I hope you're staying cool wherever you are, and that it's not too hot. And hopefully I will see you face. Well, I will actually because I'm starting a reading vlog right now. So that will be next. And then I'll see you guys again soon with another, I think, spoiler free book review. Okay, bye guys.